Onwards and upwards. Time to find somewhere to camp. Found a spot, let's get this set up for the night. Tail pole in. Okay, that's it up. Very quick actually this time around with the inner already inside it. I'm going to just do a wee bit of tweaking to try and take some of that flap out of the back panel there. Right, let's get some gear in. I'm hoping I've got a relatively flat pitch, but it's kind of hard to tell to be honest, but anyway, let's see what we've got in here. Nothing worse than finding out you're miles out. Yeah, that'll do. Okay, mat's up. Let's get the sleeping bag in, cooking gear out, and get some dinner on. You're kind of the admin side of it in a tent so small as you've got not a lot of room to pack, so I've put a lot of the gear here. Put my rucksack at the bottom of the tent because it's actually quite long, so that's worked out okay. Popped it under my mat, and I've retensioned the inner to try and get a better pitch inside, so we've got a wee bit more room. This is a faff though, this inner door. Doesn't matter how I seem to tie it, it seems to fall in my face. So I've actually ended up tying it to the fly sheet just to get a wee bit more height, so it's not in over my face when I'm trying to cook. Going really salubrious tonight with the beans. So I've tensioned up the inner a wee bit. It's not too bad. And you can see the pack is underneath my mat down here. I'm just about 30 foot below the summit. As you can see, we're getting some cracking views again. I'm hoping actually it'll clear up a wee bit later. I'll show you some of the views. And it is actually just slightly opening up now. That was 5 minutes. You can see over towards the city of Glasgow. It's beginning to lift. There's some sun on the south side. There's actually enough width in the inner that I've turned my rucksack side on, so just to lift it slightly at the back, but it doesn't get too far under my mat. And that's looking south towards Glasgow City. I could see the airport lights coming on a couple of times earlier on there, but I haven't had any flights, so we're still kind of in COVID. It's quite quiet, there's not an awful lot of flights going on. I've managed to get myself quite a sheltered spot actually and out the wind, because it was howling across here earlier on. It's not too bad at the moment, as you can see by the cloud in the distance. So tonight the tent is tail into wind, although I still think the flat end is a strong end. However, this mount here has created a nice wee windbreak, so it's taken the sting out of the heaviest winds. You can hear some noise off that panel flapping slightly, but to be fair, it's not bowing in or touching the inner so far. slowly but surely getting used to the wee foibles of this thing. So what I've done here is, if you unhook the front of the inner tent, it just makes it a lot more comfortable to sit. You can still sit in the inner, but it doesn't get round your head and in your way, so it's much more comfortable just to sit and work away, do some cooking, etc. without it bothering you. As I lie in here, listen to the rain and the wind, I suppose what it is a glorified bivvy. It's a wee bit more comfortable than a bivvy, it's got a bit more room, you've got a vestibule for storage, it's double skin to avoid condensation, but it's not much more comfortable than a bivvy than that, and it's probably a similar weight to some of the bigger bivvies with single hoops in them. So yeah, it's very stable, it's wind stable, and you can tell it's quite strong, but there's a lot of unsupported panel in here, so it does get a bit flappy. I was going to go to my bed, but actually there's some really nice views just now as the sun, well, it's long gone, but that's looking towards Loch Lomond and then back towards Glasgow. So at least I got some view before I go with my kip. Yeah, it's turned out nice now actually, it's cleared up nicely. As you can see how misty and foggy it is in the cloud. The clag is in. But anyway, I'm going to try and make myself comfortable. I've been actually quite warm and fine inside, actually just listened to the radio for a wee while. But it's time to hit the sack. So I'll say my good nights and we'll see what the morning brings. Morning everybody. Quite a comfortable night actually, it wasn't bad. Earplugs in just to get rid of the noise of the flapping. And at the moment it's nice and peaceful. And the sun's just beginning to warm up the tent, but there is a lot of condensation. Not surprisingly, because it's very small and very enclosed. It's going to be a warm one, I think. Looking much better today than it was last night. So just some final thoughts about the Alpkit Polestar. I think as long as you treat it as something like a super bivvy, it's actually very good. The pole stability is excellent at both ends, so it's absolutely bomber in fairly strong winds last night. There is a fair amount of unsupported fabric between the two poles, so you're going to get a degree of flapping and a wee bit of touching between the inner and the outer. But it didn't produce any condensation problems last night. There was a wee bit of dripping here and there, but it was alright. Width-wise, when you're in it and lying down, perfectly comfortable, not a problem. And I actually think if you took the inner out and used it yourself, or maybe even with two people, you might find it's a much more flexible and comfortable option than just using a tarp. So yeah, pretty good, and that would be about 600 grams. So at that price, that's probably fairly hard to beat. I mean, there are other tents out there under a kilo. I was thinking about this last night, but a lot of them are 300, 400 pounds, whereas this is 140. So I think if you're looking for a stealth option, you're not too concerned about maximum space, but you do want the stability, then yeah, this is well worth looking at. So I'm going to hang on to it. I'll play around with this a wee bit more. I'll maybe drop the inner for the next trip and just try it with the outer only and see just how that works out. But yeah, I think it's quite a good option. So anyway, thank you for watching, everybody. I'm just going to finalise my packing, get out of here and get back down for breakfast. Leave no trace as normal. That's where I was. And it's time to head. So thanks again, everyone, and I will see you again for the next one.